What is up, YouTube? Welcome to my morning commute, and today we're going to review and have a conversation about my Tier 1 tuner. So, as with all my bikes, I have decided that it needs a tune, and largely that happens when you throw a whole bunch of aftermarket stuff on it to improve performance, because you kind of want to do your bike justice and the performance parts justice by really opening up the bike as much as you possibly can to take advantage of said performance improvements. So you go get a tuner, slap a tuner on. In some cases, or a lot of cases, those tuners they require fuel maps and software to kind of download or modify, or sometimes you got to use someone like Fuel Moto, where they'll give you the map and try to customize it, or you can get them to customize it to the best, hopefully the best, for the bike yourself. But in a lot of situations, or a lot of maps and whatnot, they're not specifically tuned truly for your bike exactly. Maybe not the right exhaust, but the right intake. Maybe not there's so many variables that happen. So when I was doing that one, I did a bunch of research, and I found this thing called a Tier 1 tuner, and I read up on it. The technology sounded kind of cool. So Tier 1 tuners, essentially tune your bike for you, but they use this technology that they introduced, that they patented, called consecutive cycle tuning. So we'll talk about consecutive cycle tuning in a minute. But I wanted to, I guess would be a better word to use, or phrase to use. I wanted to really wake up the performance on my bike after I had put my Trask intake and Vance and Hines exhaust on. So I did the research too on other, power commanders and etc. And like I said earlier, it's kind of at a point where I didn't want to mess with it anymore. I may or I may not want to add more things to the bike. I may want it to do dual intakes. There's all kinds of things that are always on my mind for wanting to do. And I didn't want to wrestle with fuel maps or any of that stuff, because I'm kind of getting lazy in my days with that stuff. So the Tier 1 tuner piqued my interest. The marketing behind it says it'll sample your engine multiple times in a minute, and through different RPM ranges, and will apply constant tunes to your engine to suit your riding situation. That sounded cool to me, so I read more. And the promise of the device is that, like, if I'm riding with a passenger, riding with a passenger, which I typically don't, but if I am, that Tier 1 tuner will actually tune my bike for that extra weight. If I'm going up a hill, my bike's going to be tuned for going up a hill. If I'm going down a hill, if I'm in a headwind, if all these different situations occur, that Tier 1 tuner is going to make sure that my bike is in the most optimal performing position, and of course, with all of that, and with proper fuel management and a proper tune, you get a massive increase in horsepower and torque. And so that's the marketing. And I said, you know what, I've tried all the others before and have had usually good success. I've had mixed success. So I said, why not? They cost about the same, so I'm gonna give them a shot. And man, I could not be happier. My throttle response on this thing is fantastic. My power at any given time is fantastic. And when I grab a handful of throttle, man, this sucker, shit takes off. So clearly it's doing its job. And you know, I noticed, like I said, the difference right away. So the way that it actually works, and once I get to my destination, I'll get off and I'll show you the tuner itself. But really the way it works is it plugs into the cylinder head. That actually, there's two connectors on the cylinder head that it splits, and it plugs into those. And it goes nowhere else after that, except, you know, rolled up and stuffed under your seat. And you can adjust the Tier 1 tuner by simply twisting a screw to kind of meet, you know, whatever you want. And it's usually something, you know, simple or something basic, like did you add an aftermarket intake? Did you add aftermarket exhaust? And you can play with this to, you know, kind of lean out the fuel or whatever the case may be, but it doesn't take but, you know, one setting, and then once you're on that setting, you stay there. And it's really easy to do. It's not complicated at all. No software to download. I don't gotta plug a computer in. So that's bueno in my opinion. And the computer itself is really tiny. It's about the size of a stick of gum. And you know, that's it. It's, you know, in size and installation is pretty basic. It took me about I don't know, 45 minutes to get it installed, because I did have to take off. I did have to take off the tank and you know, run the wires up through the tank to get them kind of plugged in to the cylinder heads. But that's all it took, and then bam, Bob's your uncle. And like I said, I do notice the performance just right away. I mean, here we're in 6th gear right now, and what's my RPMs? I don't know, 3,900 RPM. So we're kind of just cruising along, slogging along, and I need to pass somebody. I don't need a downshift, you know, anymore. Used to I'd have to like drop a gear and downshift, but there she is. She takes off. I like it a lot. So, you know, the Tier 1 tuner, or the tune for that matter, itself helped massively. But I stand behind the Tier 1 tuner. I really like it a lot. So, you know, do your own research, of course, but don't look past them. When you go digging and you start looking at tuners you want to put on your bike, go check those out. I mean, it's a simple device to install, and it's really cool technology, and the guy who built it is a motorcyclist. You know, it's his little gig that he's doing, so of course it supports those individual small business inventor type guys. So, you know, I approve of that stuff. But anyway, so we're gonna stop up here in just a minute, and when we get off, I'll show you. Alrighty, so here we are, and finished talking about this Tier 1 tuner. So first off, I'm going to show you how it plugs in. So let's take the seat off. Tier 1 tuner. Wraps around, goes up underneath the tank, ends up actually plugging in. I'm getting too old for this crap. Right there. So there's one there, so as you can see, it kind of splits it, and then there's one that's back there. It's hidden a bit further back, but you can't see it from here. But this one you can see. Anyway, so they plug right in there, and comes right back, and voila. And this is the actual computer itself. So it's in a little protective case, but that's it. It's like the size of a stick of gum, and there's that little screw that's inside that case right there. So you kind of twist it to kind of get it to the setting that you want. So for example, if you just wanted to tune and you weren't interested in adding on intake or exhaust, I think the standard is like 3. So when I first got this, I started it at 3, and then I kind of played with 4 and 2, and I didn't take it to like a place to get a dynoed. I want to, but man, I just don't really have time right now. I will in the future. So the way that I ended up deciding whether I liked 2 or 4 was the smell. So if I was smelling gas, as I was sitting in an idle or whatever, I basically just kind of played with it until I stopped smelling that thing that kind of had that odor of fuel, kind of tell you whether or not you're running too lean or not. But yeah, Tier 1 tuner, love it. It's kind of badass. But if anybody has any questions about it, let me know. Of course, I'll answer them. About the only thing that I don't like about the Tier 1 tuner, and it just could be me, I don't know, it just could be the bike too, is in the mornings, when I first started up, I kind of got to let it warm up, of course, but then, got to ride it for a minute before that throttle response is super awesome. But that's it. That's all it takes. And then after that, man, rest of the day riding, that throttle response is amazing. So, again, that was my choice, Tier 1 tuner. And it's just my opinion. Do with it what you will. But if you found this helpful, and you liked it, give me that, subscribe, like, notify combo, and let you know next time I upload a new one. And I think maybe the next one we're gonna talk about Dean Speed. All the things that I've done with Dean Speed, or all the things that are coming from Dean Speed. My take on their stuff, their quality. Yeah, that'll be a good one. The TLDR, the shortness of it is, I like Dean Speed. I really like the guy who runs Dean Speed. He is crazy responsive, and all the work is phenomenal. But we're going to talk about what I got, what's coming, and more. So I will see you probably next week. So peace.